KB Experiment.
Hip-hop. We never thought that hip-hop would make it this long. A lot of people downplayed it and said, nope, that's just a fad, comes and goes. But today, one of the biggest genres of music on the planet. We have hip-hop music in every single language that you can think of. You have people in China and Sweden and all around the world that listen to Wu-Tang Clan, know all the words but don't speak English. So hip-hop has become a huge pillar of many communities. That being said, I'm an 80s baby, so I've always listened to hip-hop. Now, the influence that hip-hop has today, totally different. And as we know, we have many faces and players in the game, so the music has changed all the way from the 70s, late 70s into today. It's unrecognizable, but as everything else, it evolves. So we get to a point where we can pay homage to the ones who, the roots of it all, the ones who started it, the one who pushed it, the ones who moved it along, that paved the way for today's artists all the way back. But we have to show that love. All right, enough with the talk. Let's get to the show. Talk about my sponsor and make this money. Hope you guys enjoy it. Today's show is sponsored by Overtime TV. Overtime TV is on the Roku network. It is its own network. You have the Petties with CeCe Peniston. You have the Clouts. You got Beards and Whiskey. OTTV Kids. All of it exclusively on Roku. You even have King Borris on the shows. So go check it out and get your Roku. If you haven't already, just look for Overtime TV. Download it. Show some love. Let's get with it. What's going on, everybody? It's KB in the house. Welcome back to the KB Experiment, episode 13. Today we have a treat. We have a legend of hip-hop. This man is a person responsible for putting hip-hop on TV back in 83 till today. The word shot out, him and his team made it what it is. Let's welcome Ralph McDaniels.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I am doing good, man. Thank you for coming on the show. I've been a fan since I can remember, really. I mean, I was born in 1980. You came out in 83. So by 85, I was breakdancing with my brother. And I still remember that song. It's like embedded in my brain. Is that right there?
Yeah, that was our theme song, 5 Minutes of Funk by the group Houdini.
And what made you pick that song?
It just felt like it was a theme song I heard it.
It was perfect. I mean, when I tell you to this day, I still sing it, I'll just come out of nowhere and just start. Some people know it, some people don't. Not too much here in Houston, but in Jersey and New York, if I would sing it, Video Music Box, like, okay, If you don't know, then it's what it is, That's a staple. All right, so I get people from time to time asking me how I record my podcast. And I tell them it's simple. I do it on my phone, and I have a plug-in speaker. All I need is a quiet space and my phone. And it's free. They have all kinds of tools to help you do it, to edit, to cut, to ad-lib, whatever it is that you want. And once it's ready and you upload, Anchor has you all set up where you post it or upload the audio once or the episode, and it'll distribute it across other platforms like Spotify or podcasts or Apple Podcasts. And it does it all for you, which is pretty neat because sitting there trying to upload stuff forever takes forever. And you can make some money. So there's sponsorships, no minimum listenership. I mean, it's pretty darn easy. It's everything you need to make a podcast in your pocket. So go download the free Anchor app and go hit anchor.fm and get your podcast started.
Every time I see Jim Jones from the Dipset, that's the first thing he does.
Oh man, that's exactly what I would do. But it's an amazing show because I've watched it for so many years, and I know you pretty much put hip hop on TV, especially on the East Coast in the beginning, because there's no internet, there's no nothing, really just tapes floating around, VHS. I used to record the show so we could replay the music later on. Put the VHS in, and we had like volume 1, volume 2. I mean, we had a lot of them. Me and my brother, a whole stack.
Well, what's funny is that people ask me like, how do people know about you? In other parts outside of New York, like in the West Coast and South, and, even as far as, Germany and Japan and all these different places. Mm-hmm. And I said, just that, people used to pass around these tapes, these VHS tapes, like they passed around cassette tapes, mixtapes back in the days. And, once you got it, it was like, oh, wow, I could see all the videos, because back in the days, there weren't a lot of hip hop music videos. They just did like rock and roll and R&B and stuff like that. And so in the beginning, in '83, when we started, there was like maybe like 10 or 15 videos, and we used to just play them over and over again.
Oh yeah,
on the show.
I know.
Mix it up with some other stuff.
And as the show evolved, obviously you had more and more music. People started coming out with more videos, and it's such a big staple just to music in general, but especially to hip hop, because we didn't watch it on MTV. I didn't have cable till like 2000. So, even when MTV was out, I didn't watch it. But they weren't playing what I was listening to. I was listening to Funkmaster Flex, Hot 97. I think it was 103.5 back then. All the old stations, and I used to record those too. I've been on the air with Lisa Everett. She used to do a Sunday for an hour, and I would call in and talk about graffiti. So that's my era. So hip hop has come a long way. For people that are fans of it now and are just getting all of this like YouTube, and we didn't have any of that. It was like, if you got to hear a particular song, you hit that record on something, and you made sure you recorded it, or you watched the TV. You had your VHS remote right next to you. You had to be ready. It was one of those things, and go boom, and you try to pause it when the commercial comes, and unpause it real quick so there's no gap. Oh yeah, right. I remember recording Michael Jackson when he came out with his song "Remember the Times." Oh yeah, it came on after The Simpsons, like at 9:00 at night, and I remember recording it, and that was like the debut coming on 9:00. You gotta be ready with the remote. But my kids will never understand that. It's crazy. But it's just amazing to be able to talk to you, just because listening to your voice and then remembering the show. It makes your brain kind of go, wait a minute. Is this real? but you have that voice, especially in our generation. I could hear it without even looking at it, and I go, I know who that is. So you're iconic. Right. I mean, you definitely put in the work that was needed. That where we're at today in hip hop. You push that along. I mean, somebody has to do it. You're the one who started it, at least on the East Coast. See, I don't know what they were doing on the West Coast in the 80s. So I don't know if they had their own version of Video Music Box.
They had a show. There was a show in Oakland, I think, called Soul Jams. That was, people used to say, was kind of similar to mine, but it was like a station, and it would come on like low power, similar to mine. And they would play some music and videos and things like that. And then eventually in the 80s came along, and there was like public access TV, and there would be like local shows across the country that were playing music videos.
Yeah, I remember that. And what, so you were in a small station. This was on like UHF. and which if people don't know what that is, that's the old school turn knob TV that you go to. It was UHF, and it wasn't it was VHF, and UHF, and you had the little knob where you could fine tune it to get that clarity, because it's not. But how did that even happen? Like, how did you get on that station? Yeah.
I was working there. I went to college for film and TV, and when I graduated, they told me I was an intern there at first, and they said, if you graduate, we'll give you a job. So they gave me a job. I was like an engineer. I was doing like, camera work and lighting and things like that. And we used to do like these like little kind of like PBS type shows, like people would talk about a book, or Mr. Rogers would come on, or something like that. And I used to sit there and go like, man, we need to have something a little bit hipper on this channel. And I came up with this idea to one day, actually, these videos came into the station. People knew I was into music, so they like, yo, Ralph, you should check this out. So I'm looking at the tapes and I'm like, yo, what is this? And it was like all these artists, like these R&B artists from the 80s, singing their songs in the studio. And I was like, what is this? And they were like, it's like a promotional tool just to let you see what the artists look like. And I was like, yo, we should put this on TV. And they were like, well, it's not like really to be on TV. It's just for you. Exactly, to look at it. So the EPK is basically just giving you awareness of what the artist looks like and things like that. So I went to the record company and said, because I was a DJ first, and I was DJing in the clubs and, in different events. And so I knew people at record companies because I used to go there and they used to give me records. Like, like back then there was vinyl. And they would give you like, the new record from whoever, Michael Jackson, whoever it was. And I'd be like, yo, I have these videos. I want to put them on air. And they were like, okay, whatever you want to do. They didn't really know what to do with it at that point. And I came up with the idea. And one day we were like, yeah, okay, let's put it on. And the program director was like, well, can you do this every day? And I said, yeah, but I only had like a handful of videos. And, so I was kind of like saying yes, but I didn't realize that I had to keep repeating the same videos.
You got to wing it, Sometimes Yeah. The opportunity comes and all right, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so we started mixing it up because I wasn't really into like a lot of the other music, some of it at first, but we started playing like one day was like Tuesdays was Tasty Tuesday, so we played like slow jams. Okay. And then Nervous Thursday was like alternative music. So anything that we said, this looks cool, let's play this. So any kind of like alternative type music. I remember
some non-hip hop music coming in that was still popping at the time. So I remember. Yeah. So, so that's how we began to program each day, and then put hip hop in within all of that. And then people started reacting to it, probably like your older brother was like, yo, what's this? And everybody started by word of mouth, really just picking up on it. And it became a thing, at 3:30, 4:30. Right after school. Watch Video Music Box. Right after school, man. Everything would stop, like everything would literally stop. And just people would just watch this. Because you wanted to see what was the latest video out. So when you went to school the next day, you could say, yo, I just saw the new LL. I just saw the new Run DMC. Yeah, I mean, damn, it's crazy just the difference today versus, when we were younger. I used to carry around a Walkman in my book bag with my mom's speaker from her radio, but I would play Onyx on it, and everybody would just be like, where's that music coming from? I was that kid with the homemade beatbox. Yeah, but I mean, that all came from your show, our era, having the beatbox on your shoulder, bringing it down, starting to break dance. I mean, that was a lifestyle. I mean, it still is, but when it first came out, it was a hardcore lifestyle. I mean, my brother had Kango hats, so he would go to the train station and break dance. Like he did that. Nice. He would come home sometimes beat up because they got into a fight, but that was real life.
Right,
that was real life.
right.
And, you know, as a 5-year-old, as my brother, and I still remember all this. He would teach me how to break dance. And once he pulled me out on the break dance, like all of a sudden you got this little 5-year-old dance. And everybody's like, oh, you can't beat that. You know, it's like Beat Street. But, you know, I lived it. I saw it. And that's why I resonate with it so much. And then I found you on Instagram. I was like, oh, I got to talk to this man. If I can get your ear for a moment, you know, it's like talking to the past. And then,
well, I saw you with pictures with Cool V, and Cool V's my guy for forever. You know, I did directed a bunch of videos back then for Biz Markie and Cool V, and so we became friends, and I did a bunch of stuff for Cold Chillin' Records, which is the label we're on, and so we all became family, you know, like I was in the office at the record label all the time with those guys talking about what was next. And I became the guy my partner and I, the vid kid who was on the show with me, Lionel Martin, became the guys that they went to get all their videos done.
Nice. Yeah, I remember they shot a video on Broad Street in Elizabeth. I forget which song it was, but when I moved there and I found out that Biz Markie lived next door to my house, I said, what the fuck? And all of a sudden, Snoop Dogg was there and Busta Rhymes was there when he had his crazy hair, because they had a studio in the basement. Everybody would come through and, you know, make music. You go downstairs, he had his records. And I'm just like, what the? Robert Townsend was down there. Main Source. Remember Main Source? Yep.
Yeah, Large
so
Professor.
I got pictures with them from when I was little. I mean, dirty with my, you know, playing out in the mud, and then, oh, go take a picture real quick. And you know what? They would sit down and talk with us. And I always remember Large Professor did say, because I would ask him, how do you come up with your rhymes? He's like, I read the dictionary. So I'll sit there and I'll just read pages of the dictionary, come up with words. And I was like, oh, I never even thought about that, you know, because Elizabeth isn't the best place. It doesn't have the best school. So, you know, our learning wasn't as up to par as other places. So when he said that, I'm like, damn, is it really? Read the dictionary. And, you know, for them to sit down and break knowledge like that is amazing, because it showed me that the culture is real when you really touch it. It's different when you listen to it, but when you sit down and talk to somebody and you show them love and they show you love, I mean, it's amazing.
Well, that's the thing about rappers that, I mean, I never was a rapper, but it always amazed me that they had this knowledge of words. And, you know, and I used to be like, man, that's crazy that he said that, you know, and, you know, and so I give a lot of props to guys who rap, because they're masters of words, and, you know, and like, you know, that's an art, man. That's not easy to do. You know, everybody thinks they can rhyme, but to really put it together into a song and, you know, and keep your attention for 3 minutes or 4 minutes, that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. And like I said, I call them poets. I mean, you're basically writing poetry, you know, just in a different, you know, poetry can have so many different genres to it and languages, and hip hop's just, especially when hip hop first came out. I mean, it came out with, you know, pain. It wasn't music to celebrate with. You know, so the origins of hip hop. And then when you talk about and listen to, it's poetic, you know, and a lot of people didn't see that at first. I mean, so when you started all this, I'm assuming you had to have some roadblocks, some things that kind of did you ever almost quit, say, I can't do this? Or were you always like, this is what I'm going to do and no one's stopping me? Like, what was the mindset?
Yeah, no, I was always like, I saw the vision of it, because I wanted, you know, like prior to, you know, videos being seen, everything was just what you heard on the radio. And I said to myself, because I went to school for film and TV, I was like, but people have to see this, you know, like they have to see these guys saying these raps. And this is before I saw music videos and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, and I was like, if we can get these guys to come on some type of show and they do this, because we got to remember, nobody gave rap a shot, you know, back in the days. You know, it was like, nah, this is not going to last. It's a fad. It's not going to hang out. It's not going to make it. It's not like, you know, like the big, R&B groups. And, nobody believed in it. And I was like, nah, I go to the jams. There's thousands of people there, like it's happening. And I was trying to sell it and nobody could get it, because they didn't see it. So it wasn't until we shot it. And then there was another show that came on around the same time, right before me, called New York Hot Tracks. And New York Hot Tracks was on ABC TV,
Mainstream.
And so I was like, that was a big deal because I said, if ABC is investing in this, that means that we can do this. And so once they did it, I showed the program director at my station a copy of that. And he was like, okay, let's do it. And that's how it all began. But nobody knew it because it's like you have to show somebody, if they never heard of it or never saw it before, you almost have to show them to get them to believe in it. They couldn't imagine it like I could. I could imagine because I was there, so I could imagine it clearly. And, so for anybody that's got any idea of whatever it is that you're doing, you almost have to create it, like they say now, proof of concept. You almost have to create it so people can get the idea and see it.
If it's yours, visually, no one's going to see your vision. And the more you try to push it out there and people decline it, sometimes that's a sign that you got something even hotter than if everybody wanted it. Because when it is so different and then when it pops, it makes a bigger impact.
Yeah, no, I was excited because I knew that they didn't know. So I was like, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. And I'm going to show you. And when you get it, I'm going to know you got it. I'm going to be like, see, double. I told you.
You got to pay me double. Because you made me come here twice.
Right.
But we know that hip hop had a rough start. And a lot of people, didn't want to listen to it. They try to make it a criminal thing like graffiti. They associate graffiti, which is one of the elements of hip hop, with crime. But when you go to like the UK, London, they look at it totally different. They don't associate it with gangs, so they try to do the same thing with hip hop. And it's like, well, I mean, if you really listen to it, it's not all what you think. It's not all about crime. Now, when we're talking about crime, it's different. Doesn't mean we're doing it, and I say that in a way because I grew up in that hood. I saw a lot of things, I lived that life, and
that was the crack era.
Yeah. I mean, I almost got kidnapped by a crackhead in the Bronx when I was little. It was in the Bronx. I'll never forget that because you could see it in his face, and I was like 8 years old. But that's how bad it was. That right there, they do whatever they got to do. But the point is the misconception of what hip hop was to what they made it seem. And I saw an interview from Ice Cube when he talked about, the hip hop on the news with this lady. He was very polite, spoke very well. And every time she came at him, like, well, what about the violence and this and that? Well, what about it? I mean, we have violence in our neighborhood. So I'm talking about it. I'm letting you guys know this is what's going on. So, just to see the evolution of all that and how many people said, that's not going to last. It's kind of outlasted everything. I mean, it's outlasted. It's outlasted everything. It's like like you mentioned Ice Cube, when NWA came out straight out of Compton and, if you never went to California, you just had a picture of California, the palm trees and sunny and it's all nice. And you couldn't imagine that there was a hood there, like there's Compton, and you couldn't imagine that there was, police doing certain things that were, a little bit excessive. And a lot excessive. But you were like, oh, wow, this is happening in California. Well, this happens in New York and this happens in Ohio and this happens everywhere. So they were telling you what was going on. They were just talking about what was happening every day. I mean, basically, that's exactly what it was, and they took it the wrong way. It's like, well, I'm not a criminal. I'm just telling you how I live. And being that they don't even understand that concept, they're like, oh, he must be a criminal. And it's like, but, it's definitely come away from that. Hip hop has obviously changed a lot. I'm 100% an 80s to 90s kid. Anything past like 2010, I now like it. But when it first came out and the rap changed and the music changed, I was like, oh, I'm not listening to that. Nope. Like I stopped listening to the radio. I'm like, now I'm going to go listen to all my old music. And, it's just so different, but it's like anything else, it evolves. And just because we don't like it, don't mean, it's not going to, it's just selling. It's doing what it's going to do.
Yeah, no, I think that what has happened over the year, and it's probably because of, chatting, is that people use less words now to get across the point of what they're trying to say. And that's what you hear now. So if you're not used to listening or reading in that way,
right.
It was a little weird, for, like you said, after 2010, to understand what's going on. Like they just said like 2 words, like, and everybody started going crazy.
The
like,
attention span has changed. But, and you hit on something, it takes me a while to listen to music and really hear what the artist is saying. I vibe off the tune, the rhythm, the acoustics. I can listen to hip hop from Germany, from France, from China. It doesn't matter what they're saying, it's how they say it. But then you'll start listening to the lyrics. And I know today, the mindset is so short. Like you only got 3 seconds to catch somebody's attention. So, the artist comes out, short songs or, just a few sentences, and that's today's generation. But we didn't have all the stuff they do today. Everything goes so quick. But I think that one of the things that changed in hip hop and in general is a lot of people like the story behind the artist as much as the music. So, just because I don't like what this artist is saying or how he sings, how did he get there? Like Post Malone, you listen to his story and I'm like, damn, man, like that. I like him just because of that, and at first I didn't like his music. I'll be honest. Post Malone is dope, and his writing is incredible. It's like the first time I met Mac Miller. Rest in peace.
And rest in peace. And like he was real humble, like just a real humble dude. And I'm like, this dude's got mad success, and you could tell that, he really was a student of the game, like he was studying everything. And so am I. I'm a student of the game now to artists that I don't even know that are popular. And I'm like, okay, so why does everybody love this artist? Like, let me figure this out, and I appreciated that about Mac Miller, and everything that they were doing, in Pittsburgh and, and that whole scene down there, so, it's like I said, hip hop is a thing, and music in general. Some people just like it because of whatever the catchphrase or the hook, and then, there are others that are, like you said, they want to know the story behind the artist and how did they get here, and and everything else that goes along with it. Hopefully it's true. Right. Some people make stuff.
I mean, it's also storytelling. Like was it Slick Rick had the album, and you're telling stories. So you may have seen it. I sold some drugs. Maybe you didn't. But you know how that goes. A lot of people get caught out there acting like they did it, and then when shit hits the fan, they're like, oh damn. Now I got to try to fight. I mean, it is what it is. I've seen that actually in Elizabeth. We used to have we had Rich Theater over there, and they started doing all these concerts for all the rappers. Well, one of the dudes, I think from Black Moon, got knocked out or something. I forget because that shit happens. They start yelling, and then all right, let's see if you're really a gangster or not. And then they never came back. Then they stopped having the. But it's just the thing. It's everybody tells stories, right? Everybody's got to make their money. It's just how far are you going to take it?
That's right. You better be ready.
You do. So you're at the Queens Public Library now, and you what is it you do? You teach the history of hip hop, or? I curate different programs, and it may go from how to DJ 101. So I may bring in somebody who's a DJ that I respect locally. And he'll do a class on, just basic, DJ skills, how to cut, how to scratch, how to pick certain records to go with each other. The technology, from, Serato computer programs to actual vinyl.
or, we may do, like a lot of hip hop artists now putting out books. Like, he's came to the library and he spoke about his book and, and told, did like a talk, like people came, they want to hear the stories, like you said. And so Cool V came, he signed his book, people bought it, and he talked about, his history with, growing up in, in Jersey and being on tour with Biz and just different stories that, but like you say, behind the scenes of the artists that people don't know why they did this album like that, or, whatever it is. We have hip hop dance class, we have all kinds of things, that just go on at the library. Now everything is virtual, so you have to go to Queens.
Well, does that open it up for you then? Instead of people coming in locally, does the audience grow?
Yeah. Now, actually, it's worked out because I was telling them that we need to really step up our game online for a while, and now they have no choice. So once COVID hit, so everybody was scrambling like, yo, we need more programming, so I had so I had all these interviews with, stuff that I had taped over the years with like KRS-One. And
a lot of people don't know that's a graffiti name. When you have it, like my graffiti name was Nemo Wonder way before Nemo came out in the movie theater. But everybody, I've painted the trains from New Jersey all the way to New York, Brooklyn, Queens. I mean, I used to be heavy into the lifestyle graffiti. So, when I see KRS-One and he threw up his tag and I'm just like, yo, he's a writer. So, he really lived a certain level of hip hop, not just the musical side. He danced, he DJ'd, he did his graffiti. I never got to meet him yet. Yeah. But the Cops used to play his song. Yeah. We used to have a park, Jefferson Park, and it was like, whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police. They used to play it on the loudspeaker, and then everybody knew it was time to run because somebody's going to get beat up. I mean, that's what it was. So, people don't know that, but they would do that.
KRS-One is an amazing guy, and he, like you said, he lived every part of hip hop culture. Like people kind of they talk about rap, but hip hop culture is, includes rap and DJing and graffiti and the dancers, the dances, all of that stuff is part of what hip hop culture is all about. And big up to the pioneers who created that, and now that's what it's like a lifestyle.
Oh no, for sure. For many, I know graffiti. I don't know if you ever heard of KAWS, KAWS. I mean, he started bombing trains just like I did. In fact, when I was 15, I ran into him behind the Sears building in like Elizabeth Newark on the train station, and he did this really big KAWS. But look where he's at today. He kept that lifestyle. I knew the dude when he was literally painting walls, So that's, I mean, a lot of aspects of hip hop, not just music, have been a lifestyle and creative careers for people. I have friends who live off of their art. All they do is sell art, but they're amazing artists. Yeah. And again, they used to say, oh, that's not art. But I will tell you one thing. You can find a great artist that can do great tattoos and stuff, but he won't be able to do graffiti. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
I don't know.
Why is that?
I never thought about it. It's just a different way of art. When I started, I used to just, start with block letters and then move to the next step. Right. But it was a different type of art than drawing a character. You know what I mean? So it took a lot of practice. But once you learn how to look at lines and boxes a certain way, I just think that's totally different than when you look at, drawing a person's face or, a tiger, things like that. Again, great artist, but graffiti just has its own style. I mean, especially with these dudes doing what they do with spray paint. I mean, the 3D images that you're like, wait, that's all spray paint? I mean, so there's always some type of art.
I love it. And the graffiti came way before the music came, and these guys were, I think one of the first guys who did it was a guy out of Philadelphia.
T-Kid?
And he started, using markers and stuff.
I know about it. And again, that's just like Beach Street. I mean, see, I wasn't born, obviously, before the 80s. You know, the 70s, late 70s, you know, and especially when the crack epidemic happened, you know, there was empty buildings everywhere. So, I mean, when you look at where hip hop and graffiti and that lifestyle comes from, I mean, a lot of these guys, you know, they had open spaces and broken down neighborhoods. So they said, we're going to do something with it. We're going to paint. We're going to sing. We're going to start scratching records. And it became a thing. I mean, it's so that's why I say the lifestyle and the roots of hip hop are way deeper than what people even know about, especially if they don't look back and see.
I even think about, like, you know, those rest in peace murals, you know, like, you know, the guys, you know, who did that, you know, like, you had to get that right, you know, like, you couldn't mess that up.
No, and even that, the graffiti style has evolved as well. You know, back then, you know, T-Kid, and they just had regular markers, you know, regular ink. I met this dude his name's Matt. His graffiti name's Veer. The dude had no markers, nothing. But if you gave him like 3 or 4 pens, he would pop the pen open and literally do like a mural on a piece of paper with just ink. And I'm just like, how could you even do that? But, you know, it evolves, you know, the skills, the tools, and it is now an art form that is accepted in society as art, when before it wasn't, just like the music.
Yeah, no, it was like you said, it was, in the beginning, it was criminal, you know, it was vandalizing. And then it became accepted in the art world. And that's when hip hop, you know, it started, you know, in different areas, but the Bronx was really, you know, where it really was like home base for it, to me. And then a lot of the guys from the Bronx started going downtown into Manhattan, where the art people were. And then they started mixing up with that, and the art people got into the music, and they got, exactly. Yeah. And that was a big movement, and how it started expanding around the world, you know, internationally, you know, not just the music, but the art and the style, you know, that came along.
It's amazing because I actually used to go to Soho 2-3 o'clock in the morning with one of my friends, and we used to do graffiti out there in the street, and people would start clapping like we're doing art. I'm like, what are you doing? This is illegal. Like, don't clap. You're making noise. But, you know, they loved it. And there was art everywhere. But if you go there now you have a lot of legal work everywhere. I mean, you know, like Houston. I come to Houston and there's graffiti everywhere, but not illegal graffiti. They have murals, they have setups. I mean, it's amazing, because coming from when my mom used to beat me, you know, yo, you're not supposed to be painting. I know your graffiti name now, so if I see it, I'm gonna smack you, you know, to now it's like, oh, look at the art that he did. I mean, it's good to see that growth. Like, I lived through that history, you know what I mean? And I can show my kids, they see it. I mean, I have a graffiti profile on Instagram as well, and I put up a lot of old art from, you know, 2000s, 97, 98. You know, I document as much as I can, because a lot of that stuff is gone. You know, some of the biggest graffiti artists passed away, and guess what? I have a book full of their art that when I put it out, the world was like, wow, I've never seen this before. Because that art, it's not there forever. But if you take a picture and you document it, it never goes away. You know? That's right. That's important. But it's the same thing with hip hop. And that's why I like listening to the stories of the past. Like, I know you directed a lot of different videos with a lot of big people. And I'm pretty sure you have some stories that people would love to hear, you know, of how this went down, how that went down. And, you know, because like you said, some people make music a certain way, and you don't, until you find out how, you're like, oh, damn, that's how you did it? Totally different than what you thought. Yeah.
Well, what's funny, you know, when you talk about the music videos that I did Wu-Tang Clan's Cream video.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's like probably one of their most watched videos on YouTube.
Is it?
And Cream.
Yeah.
I think it is.
I gotta look that up. But I love that song. You directed that?
And yeah, I directed that, you know, and that was just because, you know, I met RZA, you know, before Wu-Tang Clan, and we became friends, and, you know, and he came to me and was like, hey, man, I got to do a video. He had already put Protect Your Neck out. And he said, I got to do another video. Would you be interested in doing it? I said, yeah. And once he played it for me, everything up to that point they had shot in Staten Island, New York. And I was like, I want to shoot it in Staten Island, but I want to take y'all outside of Manhattan. I mean, outside of Staten Island. Okay. So that the rest of the city can see who y'all are. And so we took them to Times Square, and we took them uptown to Harlem. And, we picked certain places that people in those areas knew that wasn't Staten Island. Okay. And so the whole idea was to show that it was more than just Staten Island that was into Wu-Tang Clan. Oh, yeah. And now,
worldwide.
The whole world
Chinese people singing Wu-Tang Clan songs and don't speak English. Like, that's what blew my mind is when I heard that. And I'm just like, see, I work with artists from the 90s now, like As Yet. I work with CeCe Peniston. So when I talk to them and they tell me that, I want to focus on Canada or Australia, I'm like, damn, you got some loyal fans in other parts of the world, especially because of the internet. Yeah. When before you were limited to just here, unless somehow you got your music there. But it's just amazing to see the growth and how the world accepts that talent, that hip hop, because that started here. I mean, we all know that, and now it's worldwide. So.
Yeah, I mean, you do it. You represent your hood or whatever it is, and you make music. Like, you don't make music to know that it's going to be accepted in Japan or China or wherever, but you make it to represent wherever you're from or wherever your heart is at. And then, you'd be surprised that there's a kid in Russia that can relate to that. Crazy. It's crazy, but it's just, I love it a lot. Now that I'm older, I dress different, I act different. When we get older, we get a little more responsible. So people don't really look at me and think hip hop. Right. But then when I start, I know a lot of music and word for word, and like, this song too. I'm like, you don't understand. That's primarily what I listen to. Like, you would never guess, but you go look at my phone, this majority of it's hip hop. So, but it's, it's calming, it's soothing. Like, it's hard for someone to understand, but listening to Tupac, or I could listen to Biggie all day. I mean, I know every song, every word. And yes, I understand that some of the stuff that's said is, it's vulgar or whatever, but that's what it is though. But how he said it makes it beautiful. So that, you can't convince me any other way. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. Hey, look, Biggie made big guys popular,
Oh, man, Biggie. I miss him because his style was just, untouchable. Especially, they had a video of him just outside his building rapping before he was even famous. And he was nasty. Yeah. Jesus. And as he came out and with all his music, to this day, I'll still listen to a Biggie song and go, you know what? I never heard that part of the song, and I've heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But it's that evolved that it's going to take you 20 years to really figure the whole song out. But that's what art is, mystery, and you got to be smart. You have to have a certain mindset to do that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, that's the thing about Biggie and Wu-Tang and Pac. Like, these dudes are like, crazy with the wordplay and all that kind of stuff, and you go like, oh yeah. But and Tupac's,
let me tell you one thing that's funny is I went to the Brooklyn Museum, right? Jay-Z put out his book Decoded. Just before he put it out, he had like this whole thing that he did with Bing. They had banners and posters all over Times Square, all over the world, and they had like these contests, right? So I went to one of the shows at the Brooklyn Museum with Charlie Rose. They were recording it, it's for TV and everything. They're like, yeah, be quiet. So we're sitting there watching, and Charlie Rose goes, oh, I have, so what about Tupac? And Jay-Z just goes, his face drops. I'm like, oh my God, I think it's about to happen. You know what I'm about to say, right? It's Tupac. There's no K at the end. And Charlie Rose goes, oh, I meant my friend Tupac from over here. And Jay-Z was like, nah. Literally on his show, right? So in my head, I'm like, yo, this is it. Like, it's been addressed. When they aired the show, they cut that part out. I know, but you know what? I got to see it and I felt it because the moment he said Tupac and Jay-Z just looked over, like, I was like, okay, it's about to happen. I'm like, this is why I'm here. It was amazing, but you know, it's just incredible to see, and just for Jay-Z to be able to do that, let's say to a Charlie Rose, you couldn't do that back then in the 80s,
right?
You know, like, to be dead honest, me and my brother went and we talked about it. You know, how mad was Charlie Rose that he had to sit there and interview a drug dealer in his eyes? I'm just saying, but he had to. You could tell he didn't want to.
Right.
Even while he was doing it, he was looking at his watch, you know, like waiting for the shit to finish. And we're like, nah, you know, and Jay-Z actually made him stay there. He answered questions. Like, we lined up and Charlie Rose was like, yo, it's ready. He's like, nope, we're going to answer all these questions. And you're going to stay right here. And I'm like, that's how far it's come. You see what I mean?
That's right.
You have to have that respect.
And Jay-Z, that he's going to demand the respect for not just for him, but for hip hop culture in general, and any artist that's making music, or you know, any kid that just wants a shot. He understands. He did it
in a way that wasn't disrespectful. It wasn't. It was like one man to another. Like, nah, that's not how it goes, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's the right way to do it. I wish they would have aired it, man, because that was like, you know, I saw his face and I looked at my brother. I was like, holy shit, this is it. I'm like, this is, you know, you could imagine that feeling. Because, but yeah, know, and Jay-Z's great. I mean, I know, you know, I actually got to ask him a question on that show. I'm on YouTube somewhere talking to Jay-Z. And, but yeah, I mean, he was real humble. I mean, he said hello to everyone. He even bought somebody on the stage, you know, gave him the Rockefeller shake or something like that. Dude was crying because he was like 15, but you know, Jay was like, yeah, come on up here, man. I'm gonna show you some love. And even after the show, we went back behind the museum, and you know, security and everything was there. And he came out and was like, yo, I would come talk to you guys, but I gotta go. But just for him to even come out and say that and be like, yo, you know, sorry. I'm like, all right, I respect that. I respect that because he respects his fans. You know what I mean? So it's good to see and talk to people, especially, again, working with certain people now and seeing how humble they are, how real life they are, you know, down to earth, and they're humans. So it kind of changes things. It makes it more real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He comes from the same place. You know, he's been there. You know, he understands what it is. Just you know, just for somebody to look at you and acknowledge you and nod their head to you, you're just like, whoa.
I saw DMX in the airport once, and I just looked at him and gave him a nod. He was like, "Roof." That's all he did, and then walked away. I'm like, oh my God, DMX is funny. I met what's his name, Old Dirty Bastard in Elizabeth, like at 3 a.m. at a 7-Eleven. And I had a Wu-Tang shirt on. I always remember that. He was in some Camaro, and he got out the car, started singing, like, you know, doing his stuff. And the girl's like, get back in the damn car. We're like, yo, is that Old Dirty Bastard? I cannot. Man, I wish we had phones, like camera phones back then. This is like 95, 96. So, and Elizabeth is right there. You know, you got the Goethals Bridge into Long Island and Staten Island and all that. And that was Old Dirty Bastard. I'm like, this is crazy. So,
that's dirty.
Would you say you've met almost everyone that does music in the hip hop community since like the 80s to like 2000?
Yeah. Pretty much.
You're that
pretty much
that
so.
guy. Like I said.
Yeah, they all got their start somehow. Even on the West Coast, guys, you know, like guys would come to New York because, you know, it was cool to be popular in the West Coast or in the South, but everybody still wanted to get New York, you know, because they knew that was the Mecca. You know, it's not like as much as maybe now, but I think in the back of a lot of artists' head, they still want to get New York. You know, like I can remember T.I., you know, used to be in New York all the time. And like in the beginning, like T.I. looked like we thought he was from New York.
Right.
Like, he didn't look like,
I know what you mean.
Like he was from, you know, and because his dress was kind of New York, you know, Yeah,
People don't know Tim's.
And
like
so,
outside of the East Coast.
Yeah.
You go, yo, those are Tim's. Like, those are what? Timberlands? It's like, yeah, and that's like our thing. Timberlands.
Right,
so
right.
when you say that about T.I., I've seen him, and the dude, he has Tim's on. Okay, okay, I get it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, he all these artists would come to New York, and then they would hang out, and and then be like, yo, you gotta get on Video Music Box, you gotta get with Ralph, and well, where's he at? And like they would find me, and people would come up to the office and like, oh, yo, such and such is here. I'd be like,
crazy.
Oh, really? And then
that's crazy.
We get the camera.
What about what's his name? Crazy Sam.
Yeah, Crazy Sam, man. Crazy Sam, that was Crazy Sam was legitimately crazy. And
yeah, he was wild.
And he's a wild dude. And he came to me, well, one of the girls that worked with us saw him. He used to do these, he was like, they said he was a comedian, but it was like a variety show almost. Like he would just grab people off the street and say, okay, get up there and sing. And, and then he would do some comedy in between it. And so one night, this girl I know said, look, you got to come check him out. So I went up to Harlem and checked him out. And, and we talked for a little while. And then he came to the station and he was like, well, I want to shoot these skits, like sketch comedy things. And I was like, all right. And I said, all right, look, I'm just going to give you a camera, a cameraman, a camera, and you guys go out and shoot and do whatever it is that you're going to do, and then come back to me a week later, and then we'll figure it out. And so I just used to take little pieces of, like it was hours of film and tape and stuff, and I used to just take little pieces of it, and we created these characters that he used to do, from Strong Boy Billy.
Man, I tell you. He made me laugh. I'll never forget Crazy Sam and the shit he used to do. And I'll just sit there like, man, what's wrong with this guy? But it's so funny. But it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, how long was he on the show?
Yeah. Sam, that was like at least almost 10 years at least. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Sam.
So he's still around. He lives in California. I haven't seen him. He hasn't been in New York, but he lives in California. And, when you talk to him, just like you talking to me, you go like, oh, he's crazy, man. This dude.
I guess, like I said, I'll never forget Crazy Sam. And that's a lot of stuff that he's done. It's like burnt in my brain. So when I think Video Music Box, I think the song Crazy Sam, so. Yeah. No, people ask all the time, where's Crazy Sam? He should be on Instagram. He'd probably make a killing right now if he was. I mean,
Yeah.
With the way the world works.
He's pretty low key and stuff, but he claim every once in a while he claims he's gonna show back up, and but then he never see him again. And then
hey, it is what it is. So I guess moving forward, I mean, what's the future look like for Ralph McDaniels?
For me, right now we just created a nonprofit organization called the Video Music Box Collection. So, people can go and support what that's all about. It's basically preserving the culture. And, people want to donate to it. They can donate at videomusicboxcollection.org because we have like 20,000 hours worth of content. And to do that, to digitize it and properly get it online, it's a lot. And so we're raising money for that. So all of those classic, interviews and performances and things like that people ask about all the time, even the shout outs, like people want to just see people doing shout outs in the club,
the shout out, right?
Yeah, we came up with the the whole idea of that word, and I always go, people say, you created shout out. I said, I think we made it popular.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I feel like, it was a word that was we were kind of using in hip hop. And then I just put it on TV and it became, everybody said the word shout out. Nobody ever heard that before. Now, people say it all the time.
Vocabulary.
So let me give a shout out. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to this person. I want to give it, but nobody said that back then,
That's
like
funny.
that. And so
you need a shirt.
So yeah, so
you gotta get a shirt. something.
Yeah. Something. So
That's mine.
Let me get a shout out
every time somebody says it, by the way, but we'll talk about that later.
Yo, yeah, bro. Hey, look, man. If I had a penny for every time somebody says that, I'd be good. I'd be good. And but it always amazes me. Anytime I hear somebody say shout out, I go like,
in the back of your head, it's me. Just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying.
Me. Yeah. And so we have that going on, the archives, and that's really where it's at for me. We're working on a documentary.
Oh yes, there has to be a documentary.
And even a docuseries, that can kind of tell a story, with some actors and stuff, because there was so many things that were happening. Like you mentioned, we got through the crack era. I knew all the drug dealers. I knew all the hustlers. I know people that used to go see Jay-Z. Like that's how close it was to home. Mm-hmm. I think Tretch was in Newark. Yeah.
I lived right on the borderline, Elizabeth and Newark. So.
Yeah, no.
No. That's
hood,
what I'm
bro.
saying.
I know exactly.
Lived in the hood. And see, I'm Spanish, right? But I'm white. It doesn't matter if you're white. You're white. So the whole neighborhood. I grew up in a black neighborhood, so I was like one of the, let's say, only white guys that could go certain places and not get killed. Because I know but it's the thing, So let me ask you this: when somebody says "I got out," what does that mean to you?
Right. They got out. They didn't get arrested. Right. They're not on drugs, and they're not.
And I say that to people. I got out, right? And I had an interview with someone a while back, and I mentioned that, and they couldn't understand it. They didn't get it, and I was like, that's when I realized how different the lifestyle was. Like, I could have succumbed to my environment. I sold drugs. I did a lot of grimy shit, but at some point, I kind of. Changed. I said, wait a minute, this can't be life. Just like Jay-Z says, this can't be life. And once I left the neighborhood, I saw the world. I was like, oh shit, there's other stuff. It's not like it is at home. I don't have to walk around glass, because we had a basketball court in the front of the house, but it was full of glass because everybody would break all the 40s there. We used to call it the battlefield because you know who Previn is, Cool V's brother?
No, I don't. I've met him, but I don't know him like that.
His brother is a big Prev. He used to fight everybody at the battlefield. I think that's why they named it the battlefield, because he would. Previn he should have been a boxer, because all he did was fight. But that's that's life. That was how it was. And once I think I stayed in Elizabeth till 2014, and when my kids started asking certain questions, I said, "Oh, I got to leave. I can't do this no more." As much as you want to stay and make the community better, and you want to be an advocate, you want to be there for your, what brought you up, but sometimes you just can't. I mean, you have to give up your life to do that, and it may not work.
Yeah, no. That I used to be in New Jersey all the time, and either hanging out with Tretch or Latifah,
Queen Latifah,
or
Rakim. I love Rakim, man. He is one of my favorite. The stuff he laid down is still so epic. I still don't know what's better than the music that he sang. His gold chains, and I mean, that's music. That's music. I get, I feel it. I'm about to listen to some Rakim after we're done.
Oh yeah. It's like you said, it's soothing. It makes you feel
it brings
good,
me back. It takes me where I grew up, and I mean, it's life, and I'm glad it's life. You know what I mean? I'm glad it didn't go away and didn't turn into something that made it, something negative, and it's a lifestyle. There's no other way to say it. But I guess so. We'll plug all your stuff in the description. So I'm going to put the website up, whatever it is that you want to, have people donate. Yeah. But this platform, is it pretty much going to be like watching Video Music Box all over again?
Yeah, eventually it will be. Yeah, we put some things up on YouTube, but we wanted to have our own platform and tell our story. And so that's where that's going to live at eventually, you know. You know, I'm excited about it because, well, one thing about COVID is it kept me home so I could really focus on doing this, you know. So hours and hours and hours of looking at videos from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s to, you know, to now. It's a lot of work, man, you know, and then tagging it and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's timely, you know, and even with me, like, I love it, but after a while,
I mean, shit, there it goes. It's like, stop. But I mean,
exactly.
I would love to see it on the platform. And I mean, I got a million ideas about, you know, what I would do if I was in your position. I listened to Drink Champs a lot with Noriega and was it with the DJ?
Yeah.
I forget his name, but he talks a lot of good talk. Nori. He brings back a lot of stories that just, I mean, I fell in love with that show. And, you know, I know the first like 10, 12 episodes were out of hand because he was doing shit that kind of got him in trouble, and then he toned it down, but that's Nori. And, you know, he has a position in hip hop, but to sit there and listen to Wyclef tell his story, 50 Cent, you know, older rappers just kind of tell it how it was when they were there is even the song Nori did where he's like, what? I didn't know he said that's how he used to count the bars. And then,
right. I heard that.
What was that? He's like, what? I'm counting to do that again. And look where it ended up. I mean,
right. Pharrell left it in.
The stupid shit like that makes something great, you know, but if we don't hear it, how are we ever going to know? How are we going to evolve past where we're at if we don't listen to the past, you know? So, you know, hip hop needs to be made into, you know, classic hip hop. You know, not old school,
absolutely
classical hip hop. Why? Because it's
they got classic rock.
Exactly.
You can have classic hip hop.
You know, I would say to see like a History Channel version of hip hop, even with Video Music Box, would be
man.
You know,
people thought I was bugging when I first started talking about my documentary. And I was like, well, why don't we put it on like National Geographic? And people were like, what?
No, that's how important it is, like, though. It's like, I mean, that's why not? But that again, that's why you have a vision, right? And they don't see it.
Yeah. And it's for everybody. You know, it's like, you know, some people were like, yo, put it on BT. I was like, nah, this is for everybody. It's not just Black entertainment television. This is for everybody because it wasn't just Black kids watching my show. It was Latin kids, Asian kids, Indian kids, white kids. Everybody was watching this shit because that's what, you know, like the first hip hop concert that we taped was Fresh Fest in 1985. And it blew people away that there was such a mixture of all different types of people. And that's what hip hop did. It brought all these different cultures together under this music, and people just didn't get that, you know, and Run DMC were the headliners. And, you know, and they were like, you know, like King of Rock. You're like, what are you talking about? You know, like we the kings of rock.
Right.
We kings, you know, like, because rock was the thing, you know. And
somebody has to pave it.
That's what. Yeah, man. That's what it was all about. So, you know, I'm glad to have taken this ride and still continue to ride with it, and, you know, and have influenced guys like you, and you're doing a great job at what you're doing, man. And I respect, you know, I didn't know your history, but I know where you came from, bro. So
it's a thing, you know. And like I said, as you get older, you know, once you leave, you change, but that deep down inside, man, if they were able to look, they go, holy shit, I didn't know that was you. You know what I mean? I used to have braids. I had every color Tim you could think of, and my North Faces, but you know, that's how it was. I can't wear Timbs now because my feet hurt, but you know, they're not so comfortable anymore. But yeah, man, I hope that we could see something evolve soon like that. And you know, once we're done with all this, I actually have something I may cross to you that you might actually like, especially with what you have, because I know you have the whole library from 83 to, I mean, how far does it go from 83 to what?
'83 to now. I mean, like we go all the way back, we go up to Lil Wayne when he first came out, Cash Money, to, I got interviews with Kendrick Lamar opening up at Summer Jam, before he was hot. ASAP Rocky. Them
and you worked at Hot 97 too, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked there for 10 years.
Karen Civil?
Yeah.
That's my friend, my sister. And same, we're all from Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Really? Okay.
Went to the same schools. I went to the elementary school with her brother. She went there as an intern.
Nice.
And now to see where she's at today, I'm like, man. Like I tell them all the time, I tell them your sister is the Black Martha Stewart, which.
Yeah, I didn't even know that she was at Hot 97. I didn't know that.
Now. I mean, she has.
I know who she is now. Yeah, I know who she is now.
Okay. She's from Elizabeth. I mean, that as small as Elizabeth is on the map, there's a lot of stuff that came out of Elizabeth. A lot of artists, basketball players, football players. Grant Hill has a big scar on his head. He got that at Elizabeth High School. He was hanging off of a car, busted his head open. His mom was a counselor there. Yeah, Miss Hill.
Really?
So,
wow.
You would never know that stuff, but to hear it, and I'm like, oh, that's where he got the scar. I've been talking to his mom the whole time, Then he got big, and it's like, holy shit. But you never know. You never know what people are going to do and what's around you. So to see Karen Civil blow up the way she did, it's like, you know what? That's perfect because she has a certain style and class to her that people could emulate, in a positive way. And she don't take nobody's shit. Like she worked with Nipsey Hussle, and obviously he passed away, rest in peace. But I mean, she did some great work with him. You know what I mean? She had a lot of influence, absolutely. And she still does. So, I like to mention her name because I want more people to see. Look, everyone has class. Everyone can have themselves a certain way and do whatever it is you want. So don't give up.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Uncle Ralph, I appreciate it. This is like a dream come true. For real.
Thank you, brother, man. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it, man. Thanks for everybody.
And where we find you on Instagram?
At Video Music Box.
Now. Well, after the podcast. Don't. All right, my man. I will talk to you. You be safe, and I appreciate your time.
King Borris, thank you, bro.
I see you made it to the end of the show, and I appreciate it. So here are my plugs. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, king_Borris. Make sure to hit the website, kingborris.com. Make sure to hit Overtime TV. Now, if anybody wants to be on the show, anybody wants to listen to the show, anybody wants to whatever to the show, let me know. I'm going to put up the phone number so you can leave messages. So if you want to call in and say some words, I'll put you on the air. I'll put you on the show. And then that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys for taking time to listen. Please, please, please share, subscribe, and make sure you hit the notifications. Why? Because that shit helps. It's called support. If you guys need anything from me, you know how to reach me. Stay blessed. Peace. Nope, I almost forgot. Layered music. That's what you're hearing right now. Make sure to hit him up, layeredmusic.com. And I'm telling you, dude has some good tracks. CashApp. I hope you're using it because everybody uses it. I use it like crazy. But if you're not, it's all good. You're here now. Hit the link in the description. You get $5. I get $5. $5 for nothing that's what I'm talking about. CashApp. I do have the CashApp card, by the way. That's pretty cool because when people pay me with CashApp, it's like extra money to me. So I just use the CashApp card to buy random things that I probably don't need, but oh well. CashApp. Description. Click it. Join now.